Hi, folks. Welcome to the Puppet BoF. If you want to join the BoF, please join in either in the Etherpad and ask for the link to the Jitsi room, or you can ping me on RC. I'm Poyo on RC. At the moment, there's only me and Apollon, but other people should join. We should be more people. So yeah, see, 4 people joining in. Great. In the meantime, please have a look at the agenda for the BoF. At the moment, the agenda is first topic, welcome to the BoF. Maybe a little primer to who we are, introducing ourselves, and then talking about Puppet Service 6 in Debian. Then maybe after that, talking about the agent, so Puppet Agent 6. And if we have time, maybe we can talk about the Puppet PDK, Puppetdb, and then any other businesses if we want to discuss. So I don't know what you thought about the agenda, if it works for you. I'll take that as a yes. Great. Yeah, it's still pretty early here in North America. So maybe a short introduction. I think we mostly all, maybe Apollon doesn't know Keenan, so maybe a short roundup. I'm Poyo. I'm a Debian developer. I used Puppet at work. I don't work there anymore, but I still use Puppet at my place for all my personal systems. So I have a very strong personal interest in having Puppet working in Debian.
Hi, I'm Keenan. I work at Kumbit, and we use Puppet for the configuration management in our infrastructure. So that's a big part of the interest in being here today for me. And one of my cats is here. Hello.
So hi, I'm Apollon. I've been using Puppets in my previous and my current work as well. We're managing some, let's say, relatively big infrastructures, around 500, 600 machines. So I have a natural interest in Puppet, and I've been doing some package maintenance work on Puppet Factor, etc. And I have a cat as well, but it's currently not jumping on my desk. But it may at some point, so don't be surprised.
Maybe Gabriel, if you want to introduce yourself. I don't know if your mic is working. I'll take that as a no. Utkarsh?
Yeah, hi. I'm Utkarsh, and I mostly contribute to Puppet team by fixing some packages that block generally the Ruby transition. So I started working on Factor a little bit, and then some other packages that are generally blocking the migration. And since we're also working on Puppet 6 transition, so I'll probably be around to help for packaging the new dependencies as well, and that's my mostly involvement with the Puppet team. So yeah.
Gabriel? Do you want to introduce yourself quickly? Your mic doesn't seem to be working.
Oops. Hi, I'm Gabriel. Well, I've been doing some package works for Debian, but still not a Debian maintainer or Debian developer.
I use Puppet for work, so I'm interested in having it in Debian. I've been working on the Puppet development kit packaging, but because of lack of energy, I still haven't finished it. But there shouldn't be too much that needs to be done. So that's about me.
And let's finish the introduction round with Zigo.
Yeah, sorry guys, I had an hardware issue with my laptop. So anyway, it's fixed. So I'm the maintainer of OpenStack in Debian, and then I use Puppet extensively to set it up. And I maintain also some Puppet modules inside Debian, so that everything is contained in Debian, including Puppet and the manifest.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for the introduction round. So we can skip to the next point, which is Puppet Server 6. So a little primer, little introduction. At the moment, the version of Puppet in Debian is Puppet 5. And between Puppet 5 and Puppet 6, now Puppet to run needs Puppet Server, which is a new thing that isn't packaged in Debian at the moment. We used to use, we didn't have to use Puppet Server for Puppet 5 because Apollon did some nice hacking. I think Puppet Upstream recommended to use Puppet Server, but we didn't for Puppet 5. But now for Puppet 6, it is a requirement. So in order to package Puppet Server, which is a closure-based program, there's a bunch of dependencies that need to be packaged. Me and some other people did some work via the mailing list in the last months to try to figure out what needed to be packaged in Debian. I'm going to put a link. Well, there's a link in the Etherpad if you want to click. It's a Puppet work, Puppet server. You can see there's a huge tree of things that need to be packaged in Debian or need to be updated. So I think that's at the moment, I don't think there's a lot of things that has been done. But as you can see, looking at the tree, there's a bunch of things that need to be done. I think I've taken an ITP on 2-3 things at the moment. I haven't had any time to work on that. I think I'll have more time in September for it. But yeah, a lot of work.
So I wrote one closure package, just one, and which I think is in good enough shape, but I didn't upload it yet. And I don't think I could even tell you which one it was. Let me find out.
So if I may, just a word of advice to anyone attempting to do closure packaging work. When I packaged Puppetdb, I uploaded a total of 70, I think, closure dependencies. And the thing is, we're still, unless that's changed, but I don't think so, but we're still lacking proper DebHelper integration tools for LineEngine, which means that you have to build jars by hand, and it's a very, let's say, tedious and complex process. The other thing is, I mean, if we want to be realistic about it, it's probably better for someone to invest time into investigating how to integrate LineEngine with DebHelper as a build system. This will save a lot of time down the road. And also regarding versioning, most of the Java and closure world are pretty strict about their version dependencies, but in reality, it turns out that things usually work when you don't use the exact same version specified. So there are a number of cases where we think we need to upgrade the package, but I think it most probably will work with the version in the Debian archive. So we can skip these packages in the first round and just go for something that's not packaged yet.
Yeah, I agree that the most important task at the moment is the one that are written upstream that haven't been packaged at all on the Debian wiki. As for the closure and Leiningen, there's a closure buff. I think it's tomorrow. So if you want to attend, I think it would be a great idea. Lana Ashman has been super supportive. I personally haven't even touched any closure package yet, so I don't think I'm the best person to rate with Leiningen and DH helper. I think it will help, but I'm not sure it's going to be done by the time I don't think nobody's going to have time to do that before. So I think we're going to have to plow through and do things by hand. But yeah, I agree. But if you want to join the closure buff tomorrow, I think it would be great. Talk about the state of closure in Debian.
Has anyone had a look at how long Upstream intends to support Puppet 5?
The end of life is something like November this year.
Okay, I mean, in principle, that's not so terrible, in a sense that between Puppet 5 and Puppet 6, not much has changed in the language itself and the features. It's just a rewrite of the whole backend, and they're using Puppet Server and JRuby instead of plain Ruby. Also, their level of support, of community support, is not exactly stellar. So there are still patches that had to be upstreamed. I mean, they should have been upstreamed quite a while ago, and they're just open tasks in their Jira, going through infinite state changes, but never being resolved. For instance, I think the service provider for Debian is still broken and still doesn't pick systemd as the default service handler for any Debian version. So, in other words, we've been...
But there was a hack on Puppet 5 that was written, right? A patch for it so that it will use systemd?
It's the same patch we've been carrying around since Puppet 4.
So what you're saying is basically we need that patch for Puppet 6 as well, right?
I guess so. I mean,
okay, thank you.
That's the agent side anyway, so it's the same Ruby code. The agent is still running in Ruby. Thing is, we've been essentially supporting Puppet on our own for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. There's been literally no support from Upstream apart from some security fixes. So I wouldn't be that worried if we got bullseye out with Puppet 5 instead of Puppet 6. It wouldn't be ideal, but it's not the end of the world.
The main problem I see is Ruby 2.7. If you look at the state of Puppet 5 instead at the moment, there's a bunch of errors. If you run the agent, it's terrible. Okay.
Yeah, but that's
been fixed in Puppet 6.
Yeah, but that should also be fixed. I mean, they're issuing, let me check something. They're issuing point releases every now and then for Puppet 5 still. So I think we can get a shot at packaging 5.5.21, which is the latest stable upstream, and see what happens.
So from my point of view, I am worried because I'm losing support for Puppet 5 on Upstream Puppet OpenStack. So I do need Puppet 6.
Also, there'll be Ruby 3.0 soon, maybe probably at the end of the year, at least in experimental. We're not sure if it's going to be shipped with Bullseye yet, but it's going to be there in the archive, at least in SID, by probably when the freeze, when the release is done probably. So yeah, I mean, we should consider starting to move on from Puppet 5 to 6, because with Ruby 3.0, I think a lot of things are going to break, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to support Puppet 5 with that.
And finally, maybe another concern I have with Puppet 5 is that community modules like Vox Populi have a tendency of not supporting modules for release that are technically end of life, and they're super pedantic about it. And sometimes they'll break like they'll make something that breaks, and it's like one line of code, and just to be sure that Puppet 5 won't be supported. Well, it was the case for Puppet 4, and I'm sure they're going to be pedantic about it for Puppet 5 too, and it was a real pain telling them, please don't deprecate Puppet 4, etc. I don't want to relive the whole thing again for 3 years trying to push them not to take Puppet 5 out of all the modules I use. So.
Yeah, I saw one pretty nice example like that with a module that had one parameter type that was not supported by 5, and the rest of was okay. So you just remove that type and it works.
Okay, so third-party module support is obviously an important factor. I'm not using any third-party modules here, so I couldn't know, but yeah, sounds important.
So one of the things, if you do work, please keep the wiki updated. Because if we're not keeping that wiki updated, it's going to be a whole mess trying to figure out what work has been done and who's doing what. So if you're packaging things, opening ITPs, fixing things, fixing bugs, please keep the wiki, the Puppet server work grid up to date. I think that's going to help a lot. But yeah, apart from that, I think we have 6 months. I think that's the freeze. Freeze is something like in February, maybe. So we have about 6 months to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe like 20, 25 new packages in Debian. For the rest, updates, we can open bugs and then try to get packages that are in Debian in the moment updated. But as Apollon said, it's not urgent. It's not. We should be working on the things that aren't packaged at the moment at all.
So that's why joining the Clojure BoF will be interesting tomorrow, because that way we know if it's okay to just join the team and do the upgrades by ourselves or not.
I think Ilana was okay with that. But yeah, we'll talk about it in the Clojure BoF too. I think she did the little agenda. She wanted to do a presentation, talk about best practices, and I think she knows we're going to be a bunch of newcomers in the team and wants to do some good basics for us to work.
Well, I had yet another question. So we have a lot of Clojure modules in the Java team. I'm not sure what we decided. Will we migrate those modules from the Java team to the Clojure team? Or when we try to package new modules, would they go in the Clojure team or would they go in the Java team? It's very, very confusing at the moment.
I think talking with Ilana, the end goal is to have all Clojure packages in the Clojure team, because it's quite different. It's different tooling, but it hasn't been done because nobody has had the time for that. Ilana got the permissions recently, I think, from the Java team to do all of this thing. So I think we can talk about it more in the Clojure BoF tomorrow. But I think the idea is to move all the Clojure packages in Debian in the Clojure team to have them all there. But if you look at the list, there's a few Java dependencies that aren't Clojure packages that we really need to update to. So I think those should stay in the Java team. So we might have to ask permissions to modify these packages too.
All right, sure. I started working on updating some Clojure dependencies which are on the Java team, and since I do have access to push, so I'm just uploading things. I mean, after making sure nothing breaks. So yeah.
Great, that's super welcome. But as I said, please try to keep the wiki up to date. I work really hard on that, and I think it's going to be hard to keep track of all the things we need to do if nobody updates the wiki when they're doing work in Debian.
Yep, will do.
So I'm not sure how to read that wiki page. So if I understand well, each time there is an upstream link, that's for a new package, right?
Yes, that's the case.
Okay, so then we shall file ITPs for all the things where there is upstream, right?
Right.
If
Okay.
you intend to package it, yes.
Hopefully I will find the time. Hopefully not all of them too. Apollon, how much time do you have available for that work too?
Close to zero, I'm afraid. I mean, if I had time right now, I would invest it in Puppetdb, which is also not migrating to testing, and it's not in a very good shape. And there are things there that need updating. As I said, I mean, the good thing with Clojure and the whole Java ecosystem is that it has very rich metadata. So generating packages from upstream is not that hard and that time consuming, but we lack the tooling right now.
Okay, so I updated the agent. So in fact, what happens upstream is that when you up the what's currently a Puppet, and that used to include Puppet Master, then Puppet Master is removed from that source code. Okay, then you get only the agent. So what I did is I just took the upstream Git and used a Git tag workflow out of that. But I'm not sure if that's okay for the team.
I'm okay with the Git tag workflow.
So as I wrote on the Etherpad, the issue is that because that's the same source package as it used to be, with the Puppet Master code removed, if I upload it, that effectively removes Puppet Master from Debian. So I don't want to do that unless we have fully working Puppet server.
I think you could push it to experimental, maybe, so people
Yeah,
can
good idea.
download it and it won't break anything. But I agree that migrating to unstable at the moment would break a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, okay, so I'll do that. But then shall we keep the same source package, or shall I rename it Puppet Agent?
I mean, for now, it makes sense to rename it to Puppet Agent because it's split. It will be split anyway. There's no Puppet anymore. It's not a single source, right?
Yes, and now I transformed Puppet Master as a transition package to Puppet Server, so that people have an upgrade path. So yeah, okay, I'll do that. I upload that to experimental.
I think if you upgrade Puppet to Puppet Server, the thing is that a lot of agents are going to download the Puppet Server code, which is not what we want. I think you'd have to have the Puppet package become a meta package, a transition one for the Puppet agent one, and not the server one.
Well, it currently is. I mean, Puppet just pulls the agent, doesn't pull the master. You have to install Puppet Master Passenger or Puppet Master explicitly. The code is there, but the init scripts are not there. The passenger configuration is not there, so it's not usable. I suspect that whoever installs Puppet just needs the agent, and then, I mean, if you want the Puppet Master, you just install one of the other packages.
So shall we transition to a Puppet-agent binary, or just Puppet as it used to be is okay?
I think just Puppet as it used to be is okay.
I agree.
There was always a Puppet agent and the Puppet master or server. It's just now that they split the source. So we have traditionally called the agent plain Puppet, and that's it. I think we can go on calling. There's no confusion, I mean, between Puppet and the Puppet master in that sense. If we want to introduce a Puppet agent package, then we can just add a make one out of two just a transitional dummy package, and that's it.
In what state is the Puppet agent running the 6th version, Zigo? have you had a lot of problems? Is everything working fine?
But that's the thing, I haven't tested it yet. I just packaged it, so it built, and then that's it.
I think you should be able to run the agent running 6 on a 5 server if you want to test it. It should work fine in theory.
Okay, then I can try that.
Something else you can try is you can install the Puppet server from the Upstream packages and then test your agent on that.
Okay, then.
But yeah, thank you for looking at putting the agent on 6. I think it's going to help a lot. All right, so we've talked about the Puppet server, talked about the agent. Now let's talk a bit about the PDK. Gabriel, I think you've been doing a lot of work with the PDK. Maybe you want to talk about it?
Can you explain what it is first?
Sorry, I was opening up the list to remind myself. So PDK is short for Puppet Development Kit, and it's the new tool that that Puppet uses for development. So it makes development easier in the sense that everyone uses the same technique for like running tests, for building modules, for doing stuff. It's like a central point for developers for like creating the structure of a new module, for so for running your unit tests, for I think you can also call bolt commands from there. There's like many functionalities, and development has been moving towards that tool in the Puppet community. So I was trying to package it so that we have this in Debian, and we can kind of follow what the community is doing. The current state is wait, I'll fetch a list that's easier for me to read. There's something like 4 packages that are left to upload before I can upload Puppet Development Kit. The Ruby team has been super helpful and super resourceful, so that's really that's been really great. Where's this list? Here. So Ruby PathSpec is one of the easy ones. It's a leaf package, so it can be done and uploaded. There's 3 that are kind of easy. So Ruby RSpec Puppet Facts, FactorDB, and jgrep. And then the 2 last ones are metadata JSON-lint, and then one of its dependencies has been bugging me for a while. I've been stuck on that one. That one's called Ruby Spdx licenses, and I'm still kind of unsure about the licensing that I should apply to this package. So I've sent some messages upstream, and I've had a reply from the Ruby package upstream, but I've tried contacting Spdx, and I still haven't had a response there. So I'm kind of stuck in that regard.
I think packaging the PDK is going to be great. It's going to help a lot. I know personally for the modules I write and I've been sharing to the community, the Puppet community in general, having a lot of trouble keeping the unit tests framework up to date because it's a bit messy. It's a mess of a rig file and gem files, and it changes quickly, and I haven't had time to keep track on that. I think using the PDK is going to be super helpful. So thanks for that. And as for the Spdx licenses, I think I've pinged you an RSC recently, Gabriel, because there's another package that's been going through the new queue, and it basically is the same thing. It's a list of SPDX licenses, but it's not the Ruby one. So maybe have a look at how that one is packaged with regards to the copyright licenses. Maybe you could take a cue from that. I think it's going to help a lot because it went through new. So the FTP masters approved it.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't think about looking for what kind of licensing that package was using. I didn't. I just, when you sent me the ping, I just thought, well, this is lacking the Ruby code, so it's not super useful. So, but yeah, it could help actually. Yes.
Well, I have another point that I wanted to clarify. There are a couple of packages, again, closure modules maintained in the Java team, which do not have their repository anywhere, I think. The VCS is unknown. And it's maintained by you, Apollon. So maybe could you take a look at it, and if could you push the repository somewhere, perhaps to the closure team now, or something that you can take care of?
Sure. If you have a list at hand, I will be glad to do. I probably lost track of them at some point.
Okay, I'll keep adding them to the wiki, I think, or maybe I'll keep sending you the text of the packages that are missing the repositories.
Okay.
All right, great.
Otherwise, can we just give the import DSC of these packages?
I'm sure we can just import the DSC, but it's good to have the entire Git history if it's available with Apollo.
I have
Right.
Git history available for everything. I think I pushed everything at some point, but if there's something missing, I mean, just drop me a line on IRC and I will upload it.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so I think that's it for the PDK. Let's talk about Puppetdb. Apollon, if you want to talk about the state of Puppetdb at the moment.
Okay, so currently all the package tests are broken. I didn't have the time to investigate why. It's been almost a year, to be honest, and I think we must have a look there and see what's going on. In theory, all dependencies are in place, but we're using an old version of Puppetdb, which we should probably upgrade. So I think we're on 5. It's Puppetdb 6.2, and we need to also check the latest Upstream version there.
Do you know,
So
Puppetdb is already closure-based, so
yes.
In theory, a bunch of the work has already been done through that, and you don't have to upload like 70 more packages.
So let me just check something. So apparently Upstream has Puppetdb 6.12. I don't expect many things to break, to be honest. It's a relatively simple piece of software. So we should have a look at if we need any extra dependencies to upgrade the latest Upstream stable version. And also have a look at why auto package tests are currently broken. So if there's a real issue with the package or not.
I don't personally use Puppetdb, so I think if I do work, I'll be mostly focusing on the Puppet server. But I think a bunch of others do.
So some Upstream modules use it. Sometimes you have no choice.
It's very, very convenient if you have a large infrastructure. At a certain point, you need to scale, and Puppetdb is needed. But I don't run enough machines for it to be worthwhile.
it's also the only way you can share data between machines, so export resources and stuff like that.
Also, when you run a big infrastructure, it gives you useful insights as to what's going on in your machines. So, okay, I'll try to allocate some time next week to look into the Puppetdb issues and hopefully get it to migrate to testing. And then we can see if there's any significant work that needs to be done to upgrade the package.
Do you know if there's any incompatibilities between Puppet Server 6 and Puppetdb, the version that is in Debian at the moment? Should it just work?
I don't think so, because they have a standardized API, and as far as I can tell, they didn't change the API, but it's good to check. So let's write that down at the Etherpad. So we basically need to check the compatibility matrix between Puppet Agent, Puppet Server, and Puppetdb. Now, this is something we have to do on our own, because Upstream bundles everything under the Puppet Enterprise, let's say, umbrella, and gives you the whole ecosystem in a bunch, and they don't really do exhaustive testing outside the versions they ship as a suite.
All right, if you do the Puppetdb work, thanks a lot. How about Bolt now? Do we have anyone working on Bolt?
Not that I know of. It would be kind of interesting to have it in Debian if we can manage to get the server running.
I don't think you need the server to run Bolt, do we?
Probably not.
It's like Ansible. So like you maybe you have it on your laptop and you just push things, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember if it's a Ruby code base or if there's like something more funky than that.
I think Bolt would be nice to have. I think we should be focusing on having the server and Puppetdb working fine before. But if we have a lot of time left and we still haven't hit the freeze, Bolt would be a nice addition, because sometimes you just want to run a simple, stupid task on a bunch of servers, and that's what Bolt is for.
Agreed.
Another package that might be interesting, but really more in the nice-to-haves section, is like Puppet Razor, which could be used to provision bare metal machines with Puppet.
So it does kind of like what Foreman does, or something?
I think it can be used together. Some people use Razor mostly for the bootstrap, and then or the inverse. I think Foreman for the bootstrap, and then Razor for the bare bones provisioning. But yeah, it's like something that we might be interested in checking out at some point.
So looking at the Etherpad, I think that's all for today. If you're watching the BoF and you're familiar with Debian, have some experience with packaging, we're in dire need of help. That's for sure. So if you have some time in your hand and you want to learn, if you have some Java closure experience, I mean, anything. I think we're all looking for help. So please,
even without experience on the language closure and Java, I think it's fine. You can still do packaging.
Agreed. So if you have some time, please join the mailing list or maybe the IRC channel. We have an IRC channel on FTC, Debian-Puppet. We'll be happy to have any help we can. Don't be shy. Maybe a reminder too, tomorrow there's a sprint. If you look at the schedule, there's a Puppet sprint. So if you do some work, please try to keep track on it on the Etherpad via the sprint. Try to drop in the GC if you want to talk to people. I don't think there's going to be actively a lot of people all the time on the Jitsi channel, on the Jitsi call, but it might be a good, it's a meeting point if we want to discuss something particular. But I think the idea is to have a common moment to be working on Puppet tomorrow, if you can.
So if we can do at least one package per person tomorrow.
I'll try to go through my ITP, the 2 packages I need to upload to fix what I wanted to do at least. Yeah. Oh, and if you look at the wiki for the Clojure team, Elena did a great work laying out how to package things with Clojure. It's great. So you can just follow the tutorial. It works super well. So yeah. Oh, and then don't forget to join in the Clojure BoF if you can tomorrow. Look at the schedule. So I think that's all. Anything else I forgot that people wanted to talk about before we leave? Great. Well, thanks everyone. Let's keep on the good work, and I think if we work hard enough, we'll be able to get all the bits we want before freeze. We still have some time.
Okay. Thank you for stepping up and organizing a BoF.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
See you. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.